شايفتك. We can see everybody, right? Perfect. Okay. Okay, go for it, Laith.
We're streaming now.
Okay. To mommy.
Hello, everyone. We'd like to start this. Welcome to the webinar, Gaza Genocide and Resistance. We'd like to start this webinar with land acknowledgement. On the West Coast, where I am, the campuses of San Francisco State University on the San Francisco Peninsula and North Bay area are located within the occupied territories of the Ramaytush Ohlone and coastal Miwok, who, along with the Southern Pomo, are organized as the Federated Indians of Grattan Rancheria. Rabab, Dr. Abdulhadi.
Yes. And I'm based now on the East Coast, and on the East Coast we are sitting on the unceded, dispossessed land of the indigenous Lenape people, and I'm going to pass it over to Brooke or Jamila to give the land acknowledgement from Webex, Silicon Valley.
Since oh, sorry, Jamila, go ahead. Thank you. We jumped in at the same time. Go ahead, Brooke, please.
Okay.
Since we're
Sure. Thanks everyone for being here. We're on WebEx, and which is located in what is called San Jose. So we want to say that we acknowledge that San Jose, where Cisco that runs WebEx is located, is the original home of the Tamian Nation since time immemorial. And we recognize the continued persistence and resilience of culture and community despite the adverse impacts of settler colonialism. The Tamian Nation continues to have a relationship with the land, one of deep respect, agreement, and reciprocity, collaborating to help maintain balance. We acknowledge and support the Tamian Nation in solidarity and commitment to partnership advocating for a more equitable and inclusive future.
in this urgent and difficult time for Gaza and for Palestine, we'd like to take a moment of silence to honor, acknowledge, and mourn for the martyrs, the thousands who have fallen in Gaza, across Palestine, and the surrounding countries, as well as all over the world, now, today, yesterday, since October 7th, and over the last centuries of white supremacy, imperialism, and Western empire. I'd ask you all to join me for that moment of silence. Thank you, everybody.
I would like to express our gratitude and appreciation for everybody who made this webinar come together. I start first with Layth Ghulum and Mariam Karim, who as both graduate students, who for their essential role throughout the process, drafting the flyer and the publicity, setting up the stream live, event, and above all, for their thoughts and ideas. I also want to thank the whole organizing team, including Dr. Salim Shhade and all the team of the interns of the Teaching Palestine Ahmed Studies, who have been working day in and day out, despite the many losses of their families, of their communities, of being displaced. They continue working on this in order for us to be able to bring these voices to the world. I also want to thank a special thank you and appreciation for the team collective of the Feminists for Justice in and for Palestine for sticking around through all these very difficult months since actually November we started meeting. That seems at this point nothing compared to the carnage in Gaza. Finally, we'd like to express special thank you to our co-sponsors, the Arab and Muslim Ethnicity and Diaspora Studies program at San Francisco State University, the Institute for the Critical Study of Zionism, the Palestine Feminist Collective, Tala'a Radio and TV station from Khan Yunis, Gaza, Teaching Palestine Pedagogical Praxis and the Indivisibility of Justice, the Women, Gender and Sexuality Studies program at Winona College, and the Decolonial Feminist Collective at Jackson, Jalisi, that has just joined us. We also invite any and every group that would like to co-sponsor this and future uh, series programs in this series. This is going to be a series for joining us and participating in making this a support and bringing all these various to the world. The classes are joining us today are two of my Dr. Tomomi Kinakawa's classes, Women and Gender Studies 150, which is Women and Gender Studies in the U.S. History and Society, part of the Women and Gender Studies Department at San Francisco State University, at which Dr. Kinakawa is a family lecturer and has been teaching these courses for quite a while, and we partnered on many of them in hundreds of students and open classrooms. My classes, Gender and Modernity in Arab and Muslim Communities, which is two sections of the class, as well as my canceled classes by San Francisco State University, Colonialism, Imperialism, and Resistance, Third World Movements Then and Now, and Palestine Ethnic Studies Perspective. And we will be able to talk about that later on. We are asking now kindly all the faculty who are joining us to add in the chat the names and numbers of their classes and their location and colleges who are joining us officially or who have invited their students to attend this webinar on Facebook page. You can also not put out all the information to protect yourselves from the excessive fascist attacks against all our groups. And if we can also post this again at on the Ahmed Facebook, YouTube, and the YouTube channels, so we can folks can join us on that. And now I just want to give a brief description of the event itself, why we did it, and my colleagues from the collective will be speaking, just giving also a brief discussion about that, as well as a statement that we came together and composed and been working on since November, as I said, and we issued one statement on June 30th, and we updated it again October 27th. This background, this particular webinar comes together within as a result of the Feminists for Justice in for Palestine, and we are part of the National Women's Studies Association. However, the National Women's Studies Association, we felt, has reneged on the commitment it made for Palestine as a feminist issue and for BDS by its president crossing the academic picket line and making a Christian Zionist trip to Israel and posting on Facebook and YouTube, on Instagram many of the posts of what has happened there. We have been at the before the conference and at the conference, before the conference in Baltimore, and after the and during the conference and after the conference convened, demanding a very clear statement of accountability, a statement of commitment to BDS and to Palestine, a very clear system of remedies, including having a panel of Palestinian women that NWSA will fund to bring to the program in Baltimore, as well as webinars, as well as a teach-in. However, everything that we have planned has been subverted and obstructed by maneuvering, by lack of transparency, by lack of accountability, and by refusal by NWSA to actually stand up to responsibility. Then we also, instead of doing that, NWSA actually issued one statement after another that you will hear about that has been one blunder. Every single blunder they committed, they came out with a worse blunder, including creating a call for paper committee in which not a single Palestinian was presented, including that they have not consulted with us before setting it up, and they claimed it to be in our name, including multiple statements that for example, on the anniversary of Nakba, the 75th anniversary of Nakba, they issued a statement. They even misspelled boycott, divestment, and sanctions, calling it boycott, divestment, and solidarity. And then also they issued statement, including saying that feminism means freedom of anti-Zionism. This was, all of these statements were for us extreme insult, offensive, and a violation of not only questions of justice for all and justice in for Palestine, that is part and parcel also of gender and sexual justice, but also part of the ways in which we work together as feminists, as collectives in transparency and accountability. This has forced us to demand and decide to withdraw and not attend the NWSA conference and not hold the teach-in and not participate because every single promise that was made has been broken. We this is one of the reasons of the background why we started planning for this before the genocide and the carnage in Gaza began. With the carnage and the genocide beginning, we believe, and this is the worst, that Palestinians have not been through genocide and carnage, but this has been the worst massacre that is ongoing in order to exterminate and eliminate the Palestinian people, a task that Israel is not going to be able to succeed, but not without the cost, the human toll of over 11,000 now martyrs. Uh, Half of them are children, hospitals being broken down, even incubators being the electricity being shut off where babies are dying, Israel refusing to allow fuel, if refusing to allow food, refusing to allow medical supplies, refusing to allow water, cutting off electricity and the internet. So even the suffering and the disasters that are going on in Gaza cannot reach the world. All in all, this is a project of attempt to eliminate and erase the Palestinian people. The Zionist project has been trying for over 100 years, and Israel has been trying for 75 years. It is a very, very strong cost, and it is a very high toll. And this is also why we decided that we cannot wait but to hold this as soon as possible as the first of a study series of workshops, of teach-in, of office hours, of bringing in scholars, activists, organizers from Palestine and from all over the world to engage on how to teach Palestine, so we can insist that this is something we insist that's our right, and reject the criminalization and shutting down of Palestine that we are seeing by the highest echelons of the US and European governments that are supporting Israel and participating and complicit in the massacre that's going on, and by various university presidents and other repressive forces and agencies in the US and around the world. We say no, and we stand together with our colleagues, with our students, with our communities to insist that we will continue raising our voices high, speaking, educating, protesting, demanding, pressuring to alter this very unequal equation in order for Palestine to be free, in order for Palestinians to be able to return to their homes, and in order for Palestinians to live in freedom, dignity, and peace like all other people around the world within the framework of the indivisibility of justice. Each of our colleagues will be giving, contextualizing, adding more contextualization of what has happened and reading the statement that we have, parts of the statement we have came out before we go to the part where we are so privileged by having a number of Palestinian feminist activists from around Palestine and the world to participate with us and explain and discuss what's going on and give critical analysis and end up with action items what we are going on. So I am going to turn it over to my colleague, Mary Jo Klinker, and this we're going. Every one of us will be reading a part of the statement that we published in the Critical Ethnic Studies journal on October 27th, and it is building on the statement we published on June 30th, 2023 in Mundawai. So I will turn it over to my colleague, MJ Mary Jo Klinker.
Thank you. I will begin reading from the piece Why We Withdrew from NWSA's annual meeting. As the Israel settler colonial genocidal onslaught against Gaza and the rest of Palestine continues, we reaffirm our unwavering solidarity with and radical anti-colonial support for the Palestinian people and their ongoing resistance. We denounce the US and other Western imperialist states and the corporate media that have shamelessly provided the cover, rationalization, and unconditional support for the Israeli state terror and emboldened its deliberate and systemic war to erase Palestine. 20 days of unrelenting bombardment, mass arrests, massacres, starvation, deprivation of medicine, fuel, clean drinking water, and shortage of hospital supplies have left Palestinians with 7,028 killed, 18,482 injured, and more than 140 families massacred, according to the Gaza Ministry of Health.
I'll continue reading the statement from now on. In view of this horrific genocide and the refusal of NWSA leadership to rise to the occasion, Feminists for Justice in and for Palestine, F4JP, is withdrawing from and will not participate in the 2023 NWSA conference. This means that we will not sponsor nor be associated with any plenary, teach-in, or any other on or off-site activity at the 2023 conference in Baltimore, Maryland. We are horrified that NWSA leadership is seeking to gender and sexual wash its failure to be accountable and transparent about their egregious violations of the BDS resolution that expresses unwavering solidarity with Palestine and the commitment to the call of Palestinian civil society for imposing boycott, divestment, and sanctions, BDS, on the State of Israel. For background and historical context, please read our previous statement and the link will be posted in the chat. Thank you.
Our reason for withdrawing from the conference is primarily due to the decision by NWSA President Dr. Carsonia K. Wise Whitehead to travel to settler Israel on a Christian Zionist normalization trip in 2022. Dr. Whitehead's trip crossed the academic picket line and clearly violated the 2015 NWSA resolution committing to solidarity with the Palestinian people and the movement for boycott, divestment, and sanctions. Since that violation, the NWSA has insisted upon and even surpassed the cover-up of its president's violations, despite Feminists for Justice in Palestine's, I'm sorry. Our document, I don't know what just happened. Sorry about that. Okay. Sorry, everyone. So since the violation of the Christian Zionist tour, the NWSA insisted upon and even surpassed the cover-up of its president's violations, despite Feminists for Justice in Palestine's persistent internal efforts to remedy these violations via a public call for accountability. Such feminist accountability would include an honest public account of why Dr. Whitehead broke the academic picket line. This has yet to happen. Also disturbing are the other statements issued by Dr. Whitehead, including a July 13th, 2023 statement falsely conflating opposition to Zionism and Palestinians' freedom struggle with the racist ideology and practice of anti-Semitism. That statement included the following quote: "Our mission then and now is to further the development of women's studies throughout the world through open dialogue and communication. We promote freedom from sexism, racism, homophobia, anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, and from all suppressive ideologies and institutions." It seemed that the NWSA leadership was endorsing the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, thus legitimizing the smearing and criminalization of the Palestinian struggle against the colonial ideology of Zionism as a form of hatred, racism, and racial discrimination, a smearing that is contradictory to the very spirit and praxis of the Palestinian anti-colonial movement, including feminist and queer Palestinian activists.
We have been forced to issue this second statement on the NWSA leadership's betrayal of Palestine solidarity in view of its October 11th, 2023 statement. We are extremely troubled that even in its most recent statement, NWSA has failed to reflect on or respond to the gravity and urgency of the genocide in Gaza. Once again, NWSA's ongoing neoliberal erosion of the politics and praxis of feminist solidarity with and in Palestine is being performed before our eyes. The October 11th statement amply illustrates why we have repeatedly objected to and took issue with the association's failures of solidarity. Feminists for Justice in and for Palestine, F4JP, originally formed as a mobilizing space for the NWSA 2015 Historic Statement on Palestine and as an interest group following the 2015 annual meeting.
In lieu of offering programming at the NWSA this year, we will hold an open classroom teach-in series, starting with an emergency teach-in on the genocide in Gaza in collaboration with Teaching Palestine, Pedagogical Praxis and the Indivisibility of Justice, an Ahmed Studies Open Classroom series, and other programs and departments, as I've mentioned them above. We will host Palestinian feminists from different geographies of Palestinian dispossession, colonized context, and siege to make up for NWSA's lack of accountability. As Feminists for Justice in and for Palestine, we will cover the cost of translation to ensure that Palestinian feminists and queer activists who are at the center of our study, pedagogy, and discussion are not hindered by the hegemony of English, a colonial neoliberal medium that is inherently exclusionary. We have always sought to expand the teaching and curriculum of Palestine and anti-Zionist studies to all academic curricula and community education, and we are expecting NWSA to implement such a vision with us, not against us. We invite all feminists committed to justice in and for Palestine to participate in this teaching series that will starting on Wednesday, November 15th. Ask your department, program, or community organizations to co-sponsor it and bring along students and community members.
We also invite you to sign on to our statement, committing to our statement, calling on the NWSA to commit to never cross the BDS academic picket line, but rather to reaffirm its commitment to the boycott, divestment, and sanctions goals and international movement according to our 2015 resolution. Our statement goes over and explains why we refuse to allow the hostile takeover, tokenization, and neoliberalization of Palestine solidarity, the Palestinian struggle, feminist solidarity by NWSA, or any other party. As best described by the Mohawk feminist scholar Audra Simpson, the notion of refusal means the refusal of the terms and conditions set by oppressive structures, including those set forth by the enablers of settler colonialism. In this case, the enablers of Israeli settler colonialism. This refusal should not be confused with disengagement.
As Audre Lorde stated in her 1981 keynote presentation at the National Women's Studies Association conference, quote, "I cannot hide my anger to spare you guilt," or it is NWSA guilt, "nor hurt feelings, nor answering anger. For to do so insults and trivializes all our efforts. Guilt is not a response to anger. It is a response to one's own actions or lack of action. For guilt is only yet another form of objectification. Oppressed peoples are always being asked to stretch a little more to bridge the gap between blindness and humanity," from her essay, The Uses of Anger.
Thank you, Tomomi. So this is the last part of the document. The movements we are part of, BDS, the academic boycott, which is growing rapidly now, and the Palestine solidarity much more broadly, as well as feminism writ large, all imply crucial ethical frameworks for our actions. We must center decolonial feminist praxis and remain committed to the values of our movements, including honesty, accountability, and repair for harm, without which decolonization, feminism, and justice are stripped of all meaning. Our commitment to Palestine and the transnational feminist solidarity remains unwavering. We ask the NWSA to respond to our anger with accountability. We ask that everyone responds to this urgent moment in Palestine with the unconditional solidarity and decolonial feminist praxis that it demands. Thank you.
Now we are going to move to the second part, which is the roundtable discussion with our esteemed guest, whom we are so honored and so privileged and so thankful for taking the time and joining us. The panel, the discussion is going to go on three parts: a question round one, round two, round three, and the questions are going to be alternated by our colleagues from the Feminists for Justice in and for Palestine. It is intended as a conversation, and we would like to hear from all of you. And we will be able to, if you feel like you need to jump or add something, wait and maybe kind of raise your voice so you can add it, and then we will have questions and answers and discussion, and then end with call for action and some concluding remarks. So I'm going to turn it over now to my colleagues Mary Jo Klinker and Brooke. Forgot your last name, Brooke. My God, can't believe it.
My name's Brooke Lober.
Brooke Lorber. We've been working with each other forever, but this is what happens when you're really sick and trying to manage all of these things to actually conduct the first round of the questions. So go ahead, please.
Rabab, would you like to introduce each of the panelists before we begin the questions?
I'm going to leave it to you, but don't introduce me first. Leave me till the end.
Mary Jo, let's take turns. Maybe I can start and then I'll pass it to you. Is that okay? So we're going to introduce all of the panelists first before we turn it over. Does that sound all right? Okay. So maybe we'll go in backwards order from what we've got on our document here. If that's okay, we'll just go in opposite order so that we end with you, Rabab. I'll start with Rima Eid, an MA student at Birzeit University from Brej Camp in Gaza, who has lost 40 martyred family members. Thank you for being with us today.
And I will introduce Dana Faraj, who is a Palestinian lawyer and a graduate student who is representing the Union of Faculty and Staff at Birzeit University that has been issuing amazing statements to bring the voice of Palestinian universities to the world, including institutions in Gaza under siege, genocidal bombardment. Dana is a researcher and has been a certified lawyer at the Palestinian Bar Association since 2019. She is currently a PhD student in Burgundy University, researching state responsibility regarding international crimes. She obtained her master's degree in international humanitarian law at Aix-Marseille University, and her bachelor's degree is in law from Birzeit University. Her research interests include international criminal law, international responsibility, and human rights law. Thank you so much for being with us.
And our next panelist is Andalib Adwan, who has long-standing experience in development, gender, and media fields, support for vulnerable women's issues, and a strong advocate for women's rights. She's been engaged in different public sphere projects and activities, especially political activities, and youth and women projects. She's the founder and the director of the Community Media Center, starting in 2007, the co-founder of Women Affairs Center in Gaza, starting in 1991, the Arab Women's Forum, Aisha, founder and editor-in-chief of Al-Qaeda Women's Magazine, and former member of Al-Mazan Center for Human Rights from 1998 to 2022, that has just sued the Israeli military for crimes against humanity in the International Criminal Court. Amazing to hear that. She's a board member of Amman Transparency Coalition in Palestine and a member of its General Assembly. She serves on the trustees board of Masarat Center. And finally, she's a member of the Palestinian Women's Group for Strategic Dialogue on Women, Peace, and Security. Really honored to be here with you today.
Thank you. We also have Haneen Zouabi with us, who's a former Knesset member representing the Palestinian Party. She was born in 1969 in the city of Nazareth and first joined the Knesset in 2009 as a member of the Balad, becoming the first female Arab member of the Knesset. She retired from politics ahead of the April 2019 elections. During this time, she was an outspoken member in defense of Palestinian rights and equality, and is targeted as a result. In May 2010, she participated in the Gaza flotilla to break the Israeli military naval blockade of Gaza, and she was on the Marma when it was raided by the Israeli naval commanders and briefly arrested. She has been involved in numerous causes and campaigns, including the Committee on the Status of Women and Gender Equality and the Lobby for the Advancement of Education in the Arab Sector for Palestinians in the 48 areas. Between 2003 and 2008, she served as the Director General, Arab Center for Media, Freedom, Development, and Research. 2 weeks ago, in October 2023, Zouabi was arrested and roughed up by Israeli authorities over her opposition to the war in Gaza. Thank you so much for being with us today.
And I'm introducing our next panelist, Jehan El-Helou, a longtime Palestinian leader and historian. Jehan El-Helou was born in Haifa in 1943. Soon, al-Nakba uprooted her family to Lebanon. For long years, she was a pioneer in the Palestinian national struggle and the women's liberation movement. She was a member of the executive committee of the General Union of Palestinian Women and a member of the Palestinian National Council. More recently, her fervor is directed toward children's culture. Over the past 2 decades, this dedication has led Jehan to direct Tamer Institute for 6 years and to serve for 4 years as an executive committee member of the International Board on Books for Young People, and as president of IBBY's Palestinian section since 2002, both of which are volunteer positions. She's the author of the recent book, Making Palestine's History, Women's Testimonies, published by Spokesman Books in 2022, which tells stories of women freedom fighters in their own words. Thank you for joining us today.
And I will also be introducing Rabab. Rabab Abdahadi is the principal investigator of Teaching Palestine, born and raised in Nablus, Palestine. Dr. Rabab Abdahadi is founding director and senior scholar for SFSU's Arab and Muslim Ethnicities and Diaspora Studies program. She's widely published with over 80 articles, books, anthologies, and newspaper articles as a scholar, activist, and a 10-year UN-based journalist, with over 80 publications in several languages, including the Feminist Studies article on Israeli settler colonialism and context, celebrating Palestinian death on Israel's war on Gaza in 2014, which remains very appropriate today. She's the co-founder and editorial board member of Islamophobia Studies Journal and policy advisor of Al Shabka. She serves on the board of directors of National Students for Justice in Palestine and is an advisory board of U.S. Campaign for the Academic and Cultural Boycott of Israel. She's also the executive committee of California Scholars for Academic Freedom and as co-chair of Feminists for Justice in and for Palestine interest section of the National Women's Studies Association. She's received numerous awards, including the Evelyn Sheker National Arab American Book Award, Alex Oda Memorial Award, and is a Service Award Life Achievement Award by the Middle East Studies Association, and last week, the Angela Y. Davis Award from the American Studies Association. She also serves as the mentor to many of us in this space. Thank you so much for being with us today. Has everyone been introduced who's with us in the space? Is that okay? I would like to begin by asking each of the panelists that we've just introduced to take 2 to 3 minutes. We're interested in hearing a little bit more about yourselves, a sense of the organizing work, activism, and research that you're doing that we can learn from you today. So if someone would volunteer to go first, I think we can try and follow it in a circle then.
مرحبا. This is Andalib, and I want to excuse me that I will speak in Arabic. There is no English, either Arabic in my head after that hard days in Gaza. أنا حاليا بعني قبل الحرب مديرة في مركز التنمية والإعلام المجتمعي اللي بيستهدف النساء والشباب يعني تنمية القدرات وتعزيزها وتشغيل جزئي عبر مشاريع مختلفة. بنتناول قضايا المرأة والشباب ونعمل عليها هايلايتس في الميديا، السوشيال ميديا على وجه الخصوص، إلى جانب الأفلام الوثائقية. بنحاول نستخدم هاي المواد في عملية التوعية للجمهور حول قضايا المرأة والشباب، وكمان بنستخدمها في حملات advocacy ومساءلة لصناع القرار حول هاي القضايا. هذا باختصار شديد عن عملنا اللي بدأناه عام يعني في بداية 2007، ولكن قبل مركز التنمية والإعلام المجتمعي أنا كنت بشتغل في مركز شؤون المرأة كمديرة لبرنامج الإعلام، ومن مدير التحرير أو رئيسة التحرير في مجلة الغيداء، المجلة النسوية الأولى في قطاع غزة. من خلال عملي كنت مواكبة لقضايا المرأة بشتى المجالات، سواء قضايا المشاركة السياسية للمرأة في قطاع غزة أو قضايا العنف بجميع أشكالها ومحاربة أو الحد، محاولات الحد من العنف القائم ضد النساء في فلسطين وفي قطاع غزة، سواء عبر حملات التوعية أو حملات المناصرة أو الأبحاث والدراسات أو التدريبات والتمكين والتعزيز القدرات. إذا بدي أحكي الآن عن ما يجري في قطاع غزة وأنا
عندليب إذا ممكن توقفي مشان الترجمة.
أوكي.
طب أوكي، مين، جميلة ومريم ولا أنا؟ حدا فيكم يقول.
تفضلي يا دكتورة.
Okay, طيب. So Andalib has talks. Andalib Al-Adwan talks about the work that she has been doing initially before as empowerment of youth, empowerment of women, education, bringing and editing a newspaper, Al-Ghaida, organizing on political issues in political processes, as well as fighting against violence against people in all its forms, including violence against women. She has been also working on training and many other places to support the empowerment of people in Gaza under occupation. And I wanted to leave the last, one of the things that she's mentioned till the last, because Andalib was one of the organizers of the Model Parliament for Women's and Empowerment, and that's actually where I met her, because she was one of the people I interviewed in Gaza in her office. So this is a very big, long time organizing. So Andalib, if we will, maybe we'll stop now and then we'll come back to the situation in Gaza about the introductions. Is that okay with you?
طبعا أكيد.
All right. And did I cover everything, or there are some things that I didn't? If I didn't, let me know and I'll add them later on.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Back to you, Brooke and Mary Jo.
Would someone else like to share a little bit about their research and activism that you would like all folks who are listening in on our conversation to know about?
Cover it, Dana.
Hi, good evening or good morning. I am Dana Faraj. I am now working in Muwatin Institute for Democracy and Human Rights in Birzeit University. We do research on issues related to the community, Palestinian community, from multidisciplinary approach. So we do legal research, political research, human rights research also. And we try all the time to be from the Palestinian voices and in a theoretical way, or to do a mix of theoretical and practical issues. We look at the human rights as an emancipatory tool out of the international law system, let's say. And I'm also a PhD student, as you mentioned, in international criminal law, which is now the hit. How we will talk about responsibility of all the crimes that are being committed in Palestine And as part of the union of Birzeit workers and employees and professors, we are planning to work more now regarding the situation in Gaza and the genocide that we are living as Palestinians in wherever we are. So we are organized in different groups, legal committee, health committee, educational committee from how to say it, well, educational committee, sorry, to think about education from emancipatory also way for the Palestinian emancipation, and other committees. In the legal committee, we are trying to search on the genocide from the legal perspective and how we can apply it on what's going on, not only in Gaza these days, but since the creation of Israel and the start of the Palestinian suffer. I think that you know how is important the role of Birzeit University as research institutes, as students, as professors, and which role can play during these difficult times, or the role that had played in the first Intifada and second Intifada. And maybe we can talk more about what's happening now in West Bank, which make it difficult to do the same role of Birzeit University as a national university.
So that will be for the second role. Thank you. Yeah. I think Rima wanted to go next.
Yes. Hello, my name is Rima Dahadha. Sura, I think can be more express more in Arabic. I can speak in Arabic, please.
Sure.
تمام. أنا ريما عيد، مولودة بغزة وتحديدا بمنطقة اسمها البريج. صدقا أنا مش داخلة أعرف عن نفسي إذا كنت مدير تنفيذي بمكان أو أنا موجودة برام الله حاليا، متزوجة برام الله وعندي أولاد، بس أنا داخلة أحكي عن معاناة حدا بيخصني أنا بالدرجة الأولى، أنا واللي بيخصوني كلهم. أنا إجيت على رام الله 2006، انولدت بمخيم البريج. الآن المخيم تحت القصف، المخيم تم إبادته تقريبا. أهلي ما زالوا إلى الآن بغزة. تم نزوحهم، طلبوا منهم ينزحوا إلى منطقة جنوب الوادي. طبعا أهلي متفرقين، منهم ساكن على شاطئ غزة بتل الهوى، منهم بالرمال، منهم بالبريج. طلبوا منهم ينزحوا لجنوب الوادي لأنه هم مستهدفين على أساس ثكنات وأحزاب معينة، وإحنا مدنيين، فانزحوا على جنوب الوادي. نزحوا أهلي على جنوب الوادي منطقة النصيرات على أساس إنها أمان. تجمعوا هناك أعمامي، عماتي، أهلي، أمي، إخوتي، نزحوا على النصيرات. وأنا هون برام الله بسمع أخبارهم كل فترة وفترة لانقطاع الاتصال والإنترنت. طبعا بعد نزوحهم لجنوب الوادي اكتشفنا أنه ما في شيء أمان أبدا، ما في شيء أمان، ما في شيء بعيد، وما في شيء مش مستهدف، كل شيء مستهدف. المدنيين قبل أي شيء تاني مستهدفين، أطفالنا مستهدفين ونسائنا مستهدفين، بدليل عمي كبير بالعمر بيعاني من مرض الزهايمر، ما بيعرف شيء عن أي شيء بيصير حواليه أحفاده وبناته وأولاده، من بينهم بنت جاية من السويد زيارة ومعها 5 أولاد، ساكنة أو أخذت شقة بالزيارة بمدينة الزهراء، برضو نزحت عن النصيرات. خلال فترة النهار هي المفروض إنهم بدهم ينزلوا يشتروا أشيائهم الخاصة
نزل فقط الوحيد من عيلة مكونة من 23 شخص، نزل يشتري لوالده ولبنته اللي جايبها زراعة دواء. لما رجع ما لقى العمارة، راحت باللي فيها. ولأنه إكرام الميت على الأقل جنازة، فتحت هون برام الله بيت أجر. وبعد 3 أيام خلص بيت الأجر برام الله، لأنه بغزة مش قادرين يفتحوا لهم بيت أجر. بعد 3 أيام سكرت بيت الأجر، انفتح كمان بيت أجر لبيت عمتي أخته اللي بيسكنوا فيه. أنتوا كاتبين 40 لكن لا يعني، والأسماء موجودة على السوشيال ميديا، هم أكتر. بعد 3 أيام من وفاة أو استشهاد عمي وعائلته، عمتي وأولادها وبناتها وأحفادهم كمان انقصفوا بمنطقة آمنة، بمنطقة بعيدة عن القصف، بمنطقة فقط بيستهدفوا فيها أحزاب. الأحزاب اللي استشهدوا بالعمارة هاي كانت امرأة بال60، عندها أحفاد بين سنة وبين 5 سنوات، عندها نساء كناينها وبناتها راحوا استشهدوا. 3 أيام كمان بيت أجر بعد عمي. فتحت لدار عمتي وأنا صراحة بعيدة، وحاسة إنه الموضوع لا كابوس، يعني لا في إشي غلط بصير. بين ما أنا بستوعب الصدمة بيجيني خبر كمان دار من عائلتنا برضه، أخوال إلي بنسوانهم بأولادهم بكل شيء راح، يعني كل شيء، معالم البيت. وعشان أنا أصدق قلت لهم طب صوروا لي فيديو. والله أشلاء على الأرض، كل همهم إخواتي اللي ضايلين كيف يلاقوا قطع الجثث، يعرفوا الراس هاد وجسم هذا ايد مين، ويخمنوا ايد مين هاي رجل مين هاي، وينبشوا لانه ما في معدات، ما في شيء ينبشوا فيه، بينبشوا بالنهار بايديهم، يحاولوا يطلعوا على الاقل يقدروا يدفنوهم. راح اكثر من 40 حدا من ناس تربيت معهم بيقربوا لي. حياتي وذكرياتي كلها معهم. أنا آسفة بطول عليكم، بس أنا مش جاية أعرف عن نفسي، أنا جاية أحكي لكم شو هو الوضع. الآن أهلي كان عندهم شركة والحمد لله وضعهم ممتاز بمنطقة بتعاني سنوات من الحروب والفقر والهمجية الإسرائيلية عليهم، كانوا تمام ماشي وضعهم. الآن أهلي عشان يحصلوا على مي بدهم يصفوا بالدور 5-6 ساعات، ممكن ينقصفوا خلالها. عشان يحصلوا على دواء آسفة، في شيء كتير مهم، اللي ما بيموت قاعد بتصيبه حالات هلع ومرض شديدة. بنت أختي عمرها 5 سنوات من أصوات القصف صارت تتشنج، ما ماتت وما انقصفت، بس صارت تتشنج، تدخل بحالات تشنج. ما في دكاترة أعصاب ولا في شيء تلجأ له. أختي اضطريت أتواصل مع دكتور برام الله، كتب لها علاج، وإلى الآن هي مش قادرة توفر العلاج لأنه ببساطة ما في صيدليات. الآن بحاول أحول لهم مصاري، بتوصل المصاري بس مش عم تنصرف. ليش؟ ما في أكل، ما في سوبر ماركتات، ما في مواد يقدروا يشتروها. عندك بتاكل، ما عندك بدك تصبر أولادك لو بالرمل لو بالتراب. أنا اليوم من امبارح الساعة 6 المغرب.
ممكن بس تعطيني مجال أترجم؟
أكيد.
أوكي طيب. رح يكون كتير صعب هاي الترجمة. بس راح أحاول أوفيها وبعدين راح نترجم كمان بعدين الفيربيتم اللي عم بيصير. So Rima says that she doesn't want to speak about what she's doing, her research, or anything of her um, activities before. There is before and after. Today she came to just talk to us about what happened. She is originally from Brej refugee in Gaza.
أنا آسفة دكتورة، بس أنا بشتغل مدير تنفيذي بمدرسة خاصة برام الله، وبدرس ماجستير إدارة تربوية بجامعة بير زيت.
And Rima is actually as executive director of a school in Ramallah, and she is also studying for her MA program at Birzeit University. She comes from Burej refugee camp in Gaza. Her family has, she said, actually even more than 40. That's what we heard. That's what we reported. More than 40 people who've been martyred. They went to the south because they were ordered. Israel said that everybody should go to the south in order to seek refuge and not be subjected to bombing. They went, they left, they got displaced, they went to Nusairat. I listen, I hear their views here in Ramallah. I can be there and I hear whenever I'm able to connect with the internet because it keeps getting cut off and the communications all the time. There is no security in Gaza. Everything is being targeted. My uncle, who's older, he has Alzheimer, doesn't really even know what's going on. He had many of his kids visiting, including a daughter from Sweden, came with her 5 children, and they were in Zahra city. They also were displaced. 23 people were displaced, and then they left. They moved. They left. They were bombed in the building. I'm in Ramallah. One of our traditions to honor the dead is to bury them and hold condolences for them. Azza. So I created Aza in Ramallah. This is the only thing that I could do from afar. There is nothing else I can do. Uh, this is 3 days ago. I heard about my uncle and his family that they were displaced. One of the women is 60 years old, had children and grandchildren, some from 1 year to 5 years old, and include other women who were there also were completely killed. Again, I also opened another condolences house to accept condolence for them because that's the only thing I do. It's very, very difficult for me because I'm far. I'm not with them. So I wait to hear from them whenever I'm able to hear something from the internet or when the communications come back. I should say that every single time Israel says that they're bombing militants and fighters, these are the fighters that Israel is bombing and killing. These are the people who are the civilian families. I heard about also my uncles, houses of my uncles that with that full of kids, but everything is gone. I asked them, send me some videos. What's going on? So they send me some videos of body parts on the ground from my brothers, bodies that they can't even know who it belongs to. They are trying to guess whose hand is this, whose leg in this, who can what who how they can dig under the rubble to rescue people. So I'm saying again, it's more than 40 people. Many of my friends, many of my relatives, many of my memories, and many of my relatives, and I'm also losing my life, my memories about them. Today now, my family used to have a company, but it's all been destroyed, and now have been suffering from war and suffering as a result of the war. Now they can't even get water. They have to stand in line for 5 6 hours in order to have water. Also, we should understand the impact of the psychological impact. I have a young niece who's 5 years old, and she has been so affected emotionally and psychologically, but there are no doctors left to take care of her. And I tried to find her prescription from here by her, but how am I going to get it to her? There is nothing. Nobody can reach supermarkets. There is no pharmacies. There is no food. There is no water that's available in Gaza. بدك تاخدي نفس وترجعي بالجولة الثانية ريما؟
تمام، أنا معكم، مش مشكلة.
Okay, طيب. Back to you, Mary Jo and Brooke, to hear from Jihan and Hanin.
Thank you so much, Rima, for what you shared. Jehan, is there anything you'd like to share about your current activism and the work that you're doing now?
And your life.
And yeah, please, what you want to share with us.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
No, what I want to share is what we are doing now. I mean,
Turn the camera on, Jihan.
Let me see. Yeah, okay. Of course, what is happening simply is a genocide, it's ethnic cleansing, and all this distortion about Hamas in the hospitals, etc., should not be addressed by any sensible media. Just to go to what is really the target of Israel in this genocide in Gaza. At the beginning, of course, I follow because I worked in Gaza. I didn't live in Gaza, unfortunately, but I followed when I was at Tamer Institute. And now we have two libraries, children libraries that are, I think, completely destroyed. And the librarians and their children and their families are being displaced from one place to the other. And what was mentioned now is heartbreaking, but also yesterday and the day before they sent how hungry, thirsty, cold. The situation is very, very bad. Maybe at the beginning we were working at advocacy because our narrative was completely distorted and they turned us, I mean, we became the criminals and Israel the victim. So we had to challenge the Israeli narrative and the lies that were taken about what happened 7th of October, and people started as if the history started 7th of October, no occupation, no siege, etc. So it was challenging even with my organization, with IBI, and with others, but the advocacy was really very helpful because, as Rabab said, it's heartwarming to see how people are asking and want to go to the root causes. They want to go, and when they say from the river to the sea, they know what they are saying, or free Palestine. But now, the last 2-3 days, and mostly yesterday, I was working with an organization that works in Gaza also to provide food and some water and some blankets to Gaza. And I arranged to send some for fundraising because I think this is what we should be doing now, helping an emergency appeal, the emergency that really can take place immediately from people who are in Gaza or who can even buy the material. For example, this organization, they have a farm, chicken farm. They killed the chicken, they cooked them, of course, with rice to be distributed. I mean, simple things, but people need the emergency. This is, I mean, so we have to work on two levels. The advocacy that Hamas is part of a liberation movement, it's part of our people, and the the war is not Hamas and Israel. It's Israel and Gaza and Palestinians. And we have to really address emergency issues. I don't know, it looks a little bit bleak, though the resistance goes on, but it's a very dangerous part of our history. I lived in Lebanon during the siege, during the attack, and it comes to my memory every minute. And I always tell, please, because we talk about history, let everybody remember it was the same story. Israel attacked and destroyed villages, camps, killed thousands of Palestinians at Lebanon because they wanted to eradicate at that time Fatah. كانوا يسموها حتى مخربين مش ده. So history repeats itself. So in our discourse, in our narrative, we should connect it to all the massacres that took place during the Nakba and to and how they tried their best to uproot any resistance movement that they cannot take. And we shouldn't, I feel today very frustrated. Why should we answer, is there Hamas in Shifa hospital or not? I mean, they drag us to their discourse, which is really horrible. And we should say, no, this is genocide, this is ethnic cleansing, and Hamas, they are in the bunkers, so why do they need, and I was thinking, and I would like to mention this, we all at that time had military training to be part of Fatah or PLFP, etc. at the time, because I'd struggle, maybe I was not very much into the arms, etc. But when we knew that Israel might enter Lebanon before the concession or the agreement was made, I had a Kalashnikov and I felt really so safe, though I wasn't sure how clever it would be, because I thought everyone should defend himself if Israel enters. And now I'm thinking, I wish all Gaza was armed to really face the Israelis. What do you think of a place that is occupied? You're looking if there are one or two weapons. I mean, how stupid, how ridiculous. Yeah, but I live now in London, and I joined the demonstrations, which are heartwarming and very, very. They were very huge. People are angry, and maybe because I don't think we have to talk several times. I don't know because the timing, but for me it was heartwarming to see a Swedish friend. She put the Israeli flag and the Palestinian flag, and she said the miracle of 2023, the Israeli flag. She said country, and she put settler colonialism, and on the Palestinian flag, instead of terrorism, she said indigenous people. So things are moving, but now the challenge is what to do with our people, with the agony, with the suffering, ongoing suffering, and with the trauma that you talked about. It is really trauma, and if we care for our librarians, of course, we care for them, for all our people to be safe, but want them more to be safe so that immediately to start doing the psychosocial trauma that our children have faced the last 40 days, or how many now. Challenges are great. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jahan. I was wondering if Haneen, you would like to also share anything in response to the questions that were provided, or anything about your work. Thank you so much.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Rabab, and all of you for this opportunity. And I would thank you for the work of the Feminists for Justice for Palestine. And thank you for including a speaker from the Palestinians in 48, because this is a political message about the unity of the Palestinians, regardless of the content of our talk. We cannot now imagine a panel without this part of the Palestinian people who have been excluded for a long time. And now we cannot talk about liberation, we cannot talk about decolonization, we cannot talk about de-Zionization without having and considering the Palestinians in 48 as integral part of not just the people, not just the identity, but the struggle and the destiny of the political destiny of the Palestinians. I will not speak about my personal experience. I will speak about the concept of citizenship because this is very important in order to understand our activity and our political struggle. In the introduction, I don't know the name now, I forgot. She said, I retired from politics. I didn't retire from politics, I retired from the Knesset in 2019. We are trying not to retire from politics because politics is to survive, is to be involved in politics. But I will give, because it's 10:30, 2 minutes conceptual analysis about what's the meaning of citizenship, because people feel, I feel it hard to explain to people how we can be citizens in Israel and at the same time an integral part of the Palestinian struggle and political struggle. It's easy to understand that we are part of the Palestinian people. This is easy to understand. But how our political activity, or does our political activism consider to be part of the national struggle of the Palestinian people? So I'm a Palestinian, I'm a third generation after the Nakba. I belong to a political movement, the National Democratic Assembly and the Tajammu, which believes that belonging to the Palestinian people determines our relation to the citizenship. This means anything within citizenship which contradicts our history and our connection to our people and our identity as Palestinians, we don't accept and we consider illegitimate. This means that we don't accept any loyalty, any identity, any narrative, any political vision or aspiration which contradicts the liberation of the Palestinian movement. We consider the Israeli citizenship as a colonial citizenship. And our struggle is for decolonization and for de-Zionization. Of course, we also talk about harmony or between our civic and daily survivor and between our national vision. And we consider citizenship to be a very sophisticated strategy of controlling. It don't guarantee us rights. This citizenship doesn't guarantees us equality. It is a very specific strategy with different tools of controlling and de-Palestinization. So the same policies of confiscating land, of reprogramming our personality and identity, rewriting our history, negating us from our aspiration and expressing our identity, the same aims, but with different tools. The Israeli law is a tool for confiscating land, while the army is a tool for confiscating land in the West Bank. So, and we believe that there is no place for any struggle towards freedom and justice without linking our fate with the fate of the rest of our people. Till now, we talked about a state for all of citizens within the borders of 48. I think we should rethink this vision of having a de-Zionist or decolonized state within 48 and a separate Palestinian state within the land of 67. From now on, and now, why from now on, and maybe it's too late, but it's not too late, maybe it's late, we cannot talk about liberation while accepting the separation between the Palestinians in 48 and the rest of our people, because it's very clear the plan, the strategy of Israel is to treat us as enemies and is to treat the Palestinians in 48 as part of the Palestinian people. The struggle, the contradiction with Israel is very clear. If 10 years or 15 years before, we could speak about a kind of equality and maybe changing the Israeli regime, now it is difficult really to believe that Israel would accept anything less than a total and pure Jewish state. So between giving up all of our rights and between liberty, there is no chance. There is no vision in the middle. Either we are talking about total liberation or we are talking about accepting our subordination and our inferiority. And our main challenge is how to coordinate between the needs, the daily needs of the Palestinians, the civic needs of the Palestinians, how to fight the tension between being part on the margins of the Israeli economy. We are on the margins of the Israeli institutions. How to coordinate between this fact that we are dependent on the Israeli institution and economy. After Israel has destroyed our economy, destroyed our institution, now Israel is bombing hospitals in Gaza. But from the beginning, Israel didn't allow us to build our hospitals. So Israel also have bombed our own universities and hospitals because from the beginning, it didn't allow us to develop any university and any hospital. We have 3 hospitals in Nazareth, which are before 48. I will stop here. And regarding the question, what scenario we are expecting for this relation between us and the state after this hostility and brutality will end, I will leave it for other section of this panel. Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone, Hanine and everyone for your remarks. So I know that we're short on time. We're going to have one more opportunity for each person to speak. So let me share with you the questions that we had come up with, but we're really going to open it up for anyone to speak on anything that they want to share today. So our group had 2 questions. One was, do you want to share with us your understanding of the root causes of the current aggression? And our other question was, why is Palestine a feminist issue? If you want to comment on either of those or anything that you want to share today, we welcome you to take just a couple minutes for one more comment. Is there someone who would like to go first?
Maybe I will.
Please, yeah.
I can wait because I just finished my answer. I can wait if anyone else want to share something.
يا بروك أيوة عندليب.
Yeah, please go ahead.
أنا بفكر إنه الحرب حاليا هي مرحلة بسيطة من الحرب اللاحقة. الحرب اللاحقة للحرب أنا بفكر كمواطنة من غزة، فقدت بيت خواتي التنتين، تحت مكتبي في الدبابات الآن متمركزة في مدينة غزة. نزحت إلى جنوب رفح اليوم وامبارح بنسمع إنه العملية حتستمر إلى ما بعد جنوب الوادي، بمعنى إنه كل اللي نزحوا من شمال غزة وغزة إلى جنوب الوادي الحرب لحقاهم على هناك. هي اوريدي ما في مكان آمن، زي ما حكت ريما كيف أهلها نزحوا من غزة واستشهدوا في جنوب الوادي. الآن الجنرالات الإسرائيليين بيأكدوا إنه العملية مستمرة بعد جنوب الوادي كمان. بفكر الحرب هي بعد العمليات العسكرية اللي شغالة الآن، بمعنى الناس اللي فقدت بيوتها. يعني الحديث الآن شغال وأنا في راسي إنه وين بدي أعيش، وين بدنا نعيش إحنا كأسرة، وين الأسر. حوالي 60% من مباني غزة تدمرت. هذا بيعني إنه حوالي 60% من سكان غزة، بعني قطاع غزة في غزة، بلا مأوى. كيف بدهم يعيشوا؟ ايش شكل الحياة اللي بدهم يعيشوها بدون بيوت وبدون أشياء؟ أنا بالمناسبة طلعت يوم الجمعة من غزة، يعني تم إجلائنا عن طريق السفارة الكندية لأنه أحفادي كنديين. طلعت معهم بالمعية. طلعت بالأواعي اللي علي. يعني أنا بديت أشتري غيرات إلي من القاهرة بعد ما وصلت القاهرة بيومين، على ما أنا صحيت من عملية الإجلاء اللي أخذت أكثر من 48 ساعة. حاولنا نطلع من يوم الأربعاء ورجعونا، رجعنا الخميس ووصلنا القاهرة الجمعة. تخيلي هذا الإحساس اللي انت طالعة هيك في بطولك مع أسرتك، مع أحفادك وابنك وزوجته، إلى القاهرة، وبدك تبدأي من تحت الصفر مش من الصفر. وفي بالي إنه فور ما يصير وقف لإطلاق النار، وقف للعمليات العسكرية، أنا راجعة لأنه وراي شغل وشغل كتير، لازم أكون على رأس عملي. بفكر أنا من وين بدي أبدأ. لو كان مكتبي كمان راح، بما إنه العمارة كلها أخليت والدبابات متمركزة تحتها في منطقة اللبابيدي، في منطقة النصر، في قطاع غزة اللي الآن هي مسرح العمليات واللي هي قريب كتير من مستشفى الشفاء. إيش اللي بدنا نعمله، وإيش المقدرة اللي لازم تكون عند الناس عشان يقدروا يواصلوا حياتهم. هذا من جانب. من جانب تاني، الأطفال اللي بنشوفهم على السوشيال ميديا اللي فقدوا كل أهاليهم. هيك يعني الناجي الوحيد هذا الطفل، الناجي الوحيد هذه الطفلة، هذا طفل في المستشفى مش معروف مين هو، هذه مولودة أخرجت من رحم أمها اللي استشهدت. كذا حالة زي هيك. إيش مصير هدول الأطفال؟ إيش نوع الحياة اللي بدهم يعيشوها؟ كم سنة بدنا ناخد عشان نطلع من هذا الكابوس؟ أنا حفيدتي هين في القاهرة بتمسك كل الأشياء اللي على الطاولة أمامها، بتضربهن ضربة واحدة بإيدها وبتحكي قصف إنه نزلت كل هاي الأشياء. هذه بنت 2.5 سنين، يعني أول كلام يعني بتحكيه قصف، برج، فخ، صور، يهودي، إسرائيلي. هاي هي المصطلحات اللي على لسانها. أنا الآن بنام من بدري وبصحى الظهر تقريبا، ولكن برجع بنام من بدري تاني لأنه أنا حاسة حالي مكسرة، وأنا اللي تم إجلائي. فما بالك بالناس اللي لا زالوا تحت القصف. أنا كنت تحت القصف ما بنامش. يعني الناس كلها بيغمى عليها، مش بتنام. أنا بجوز بحكي من شرقة ومن غربة، ولكن أنا بفكر، يعني بفكر فيما بعد العمليات العسكرية. هذا سؤال كبير لازم إحنا يعني نفكر فيه جيدا. إيش اللي ممكن يكون، إيش الجهات اللي بدها تتولى عمليات إعادة البناء، عمليات الإغاثة قبل إعادة البناء، عمليات الإغاثة. إحنا على سبيل المثال في مؤسستنا أعطينا تمويل قبل 3 أيام لموضوع الإغاثة، لكن يعني كيف بدنا نصرف هذا التمويل اللي هو كمان تمويل يعني للكور ستاف أو للستاف الأساسي في المؤسسة، وإحنا بنحكي عن مؤسسة صغيرة، يعني حوالي 10 موظفات، ولكن 10 موظفات كل واحدة في زاوية. الغالبية يعني نزحت إلى جنوب القطاع، ولكن ضايل 3 منا في مدينة غزة. واحدة منهم قاعدة بتجري هي وأسرتها من مدخل عمارة لمدخل عمارة تحمي من القصف. إحنا لحتى الآن مش عارفين شو مصيرها وين وصلت. ف التمويل اللي أعطينا، يعني اللي أعطونا إياه، اللي خصصوا لنا إياه حدا من الممولين لإغاثة الطاقم. في إيش؟ وإحنا مش لاقيين المية، وإحنا مش لاقيين الخبز، وإحنا مش لاقيين الغاز للطبخ، إحنا مش لاقيين الكاز حتى، إحنا مش لاقيين الحطب، إحنا مش لاقيين سطح نحمي تحته. فعن أي عمليات إغاثة أو تمويل لإغاثة حاليا في ظل العمليات العسكرية. ماذا بعد؟ ما حدا عارف. إيش سبب إذا إحنا بدنا نروح، يعني إذا أنا بدي أطلع من فوضى الأفكار اللي الآن إحنا بنفكر فيها، في إيش ممكن يصير فينا كبني آدمين. إيش سبب هذه العملية؟ أنا بفكر سببها وجود الغاز في سواحل غزة. العالم بحاجة الآن للغاز، ولازم تتدمر غزة وتسيطر عليها عشان مفاوضات أو الاتفاقات بين الأطراف الثلاثة الأساسيين في موضوع الغاز تمشي. أنا هذه وجهة نظري.
عندليب خلي لين الترجم.
Okay, I will translate briefly and quickly what Andalib was saying. So basically, at the beginning, she was mentioning how her sisters lost their homes, they were destroyed, and how under her office in Gaza, there are tanks, Israeli tanks that are stationed. She initially was displaced to southern Rafah, and they keep telling people to move further south because they keep saying that they're advancing forward. She reiterated that there is no safe zone. They keep saying there are safe zones in the south, but they bomb everywhere, and they keep moving the line further and further south. And then Andalib invites us to think about what will happen after the war. She said there's a bigger war after this military operations and these military activities. She said that what we have to think about the people who lost their homes. Where will they go? What will they do? More than 60% of residential buildings have been flattened. Sometimes we think of this as a number, but what will happen to these people? Where will they go? Where will they live? Even after the military operations are stopped. So she's saying she's thinking about her office. Is her office gone? She's saying she evacuated with her grandchildren who are Canadian. And she's thinking when she gets back to work, where will she start? Is her office gone? Is it not? So she's saying that a lot of people are in the same position right now where they don't know where to even begin.
And she said also, she mentioned how her grandchildren, one of her grandchildren is 2.5 years old, and among her first words are words like qasaf and fakh and jundi, and these are very military words, like for example bombardment and trap and Israeli, and so she knows these words, and she's just 2 years old. She says that she's broken, she's tired, and that is even after evacuating. So she can't even imagine the people who are still under bombardment and how they feel. And she said finally that her small institution was given a fund, but the employees are 10 employees. They don't know where they are. Some of them, they've lost connections to them. They are all over Gaza. Some of them are in every different corner. Some of them are running from building to building, escaping death, and they cannot even reach them. So even with the funds, even with the humanitarian aid that's being given and that even ends up reaching later, what will happen? People do not have bread, people do not have water. So she's just urging us to think about the bigger war that's after military operations cease even.
Thank you, Lee. Maybe just to add quickly that the last point that Andalib made is that one of the end games or the causes behind this war is the gas reserves that have been found in Gaza, and that part of clearing the people and creating a situation in terms of the negotiations that could be put on the agenda.
Marita and Brooke, are you going to the next steps?
Dr. Zahadi, do you wanna jump in on the panel now and offer some remarks?
Sure. I don't have time to go into my whole presentation because I think we have multiple speakers, and what they've been saying is very, very valuable. I just wanted to make a couple of points and basically raise some questions for what do we do next. Uh, as I'm just going to give some impressions. I think when Rima was speaking about her niece, that maybe folks who are not speaking can mute. When she was speaking about, I was actually remembering my own family in the Aqsa Intifada in Nablus when they were under siege, and one of my nieces opened the bathroom window and saw a tank right in front of her face. And so there is like, this is all the stuff that happens again and again, and the impact of war and the impact of the unequal war. And I think this is something that doesn't get mentioned in the press at all. They keep saying Hamas, Israel, as if they are unequal, number one, as if Hamas is the only resistance, it's not the whole Palestinian people, and as if the war is actually Israel is not waging against all Palestinian people towards extermination. Of course, they're going to benefit rewards, that the natural gas, they're going to benefit rewards as they selling more weapons, consolidating their alliances with the United States. The US has its own interests with its bases in the region, with the military personnel carrier, aircraft carriers in the Mediterranean, which reminds us of what happened in the 70s with Kissinger and Nixon and so on. There is like a lot of the things that need to be discussed, and the whole question of the genocide and what's going on, and the discussion of what does decolonization mean, and what does it mean when we actually acknowledge that we are talking about settler colonial regime. We're not talking about a conflict, quote unquote a conflict, a dispute that can just be settled and around negotiation tables. We're not talking about a regime that's actually willing to listen, because for Jewish supremacy to be legitimized, you have to engage in inferiority of Palestinians. You have to treat Palestinians as subhumans, as non-existent, just like Fanon explained in all his writings and so on. And we have experienced again and again. We see the Israeli in the 2014 and every single war celebrating the bombing that fall on Sadarot, from Sadarot on Gaza, celebrate what's going on. We see the rampage that's going on in many places in the West Bank. It has been going on and it's continuing again. we see the United States going to sell Israel more missiles and actually even machine guns, and that already Ben-Gvir promised that he was going to even arm the settlers, the colonists in the West Bank and Jerusalem, as well as the military with more weapons in order to continue their raids every single night against Palestinians. So I don't want to actually talk a lot because I wanted to hear more from each one of our speakers that haven't had a chance to discuss more. So I would really want to hear about specifically from our sisters in Gaza, Andalib and Rima. What can, I mean, there's so much to do, but what is it? What we're focusing on, at least in the US, is about ceasefire immediately, bringing in all the humanitarian aid, ending all US support for Israel, denormalizing this very fascist, killing, violent settler colonial regime, including education and so on, which is one of the main issues that we have been also facing, because there is criminalization of Palestine, there is punishment of students and faculty, and there is, I mean, we're seeing all these attacks by the quote unquote police departments, and which are training with the Israeli military and so on. So I would like us to hear from also from Dana about the union of faculty and staff at Birzeit University, that you published these amazing, incredible statements that are reaching the whole world, and that and you are standing in for also the universities in Gaza that have been bombed. Yesterday, the president, I think, of the Islamic University was killed. Many people have been killed. We tried to get in touch with our colleague Haidar Eid. His home has been destroyed. People cannot even speak to us. I would like to hear from Haneen about the whole question. And I know you don't want to talk about yourself, but is it 2 weeks ago that you and your colleagues were arrested and roughed up and interrogated because you had a peaceful stand-in in Nazareth? I mean, you weren't even chanting, you weren't screaming, and because the Israeli government did not even give permits, which is something people don't even know in the United States. They do not know that actually Israel has suspended. So much for talking about democracy and being the best country in the region and so on. So I think that's really important. I want to hear from Jihad about the whole question of what's going on with Palestinian women. I mean, I actually was hoping that Jihad will talk about all the work and the research that he has done in Lebanon. We don't have enough time. So these are the things that I think it would be really great to kind of like discuss. But I think also is the question that we do not cover everything today. I think we really need more, definitely more series. I think we need to expand on every single topic that has been going on, because we are doing a teaching. A teaching means we cover all the aspects. We can never squeeze all the curriculum in 2 hours. We can't. I mean, even though we started late, we lost like 20 minutes from the beginning, but we can't. Even with 2 hours, we cannot. We need more and more and more. We need to discuss what people can teach in the classroom. How many more speakers they can bring into the classroom? People need to listen, because we have to counter the propaganda, the hasbara, the lies that we're hearing from even the lips of the President of the United States and all the officials, by testimonies from the people. So, and also finally, I just want to say one more thing is that people who are listening and participating with us and sharing, and who are going to be hearing more, we would really like to hear feedback from everybody, to respond, but fill out the forms of the participants to say what else would you like to hear, what are the issues you want to talk about, what are the teachers in the colleges and the schools want to be able to deal in order for them to also get protected, so we are not subjected to increased forms of new McCarthyism. So I'm going to stop at that and give my time, allocate all the rest of my time for my sisters who are just like really amazing, and I'm in awe. And I'm so grateful for all of you to participate with us. Rima, Dana, Andalib, Haneen, Jehan, however you want to do. I know Rima needs to go, but she's expecting a call from her family in Gaza, and if she's unable to take it, it's not going to be able.
تمام. يعني أنا شكرا كتير عشان الوقت اللي عم تعطونا إياه لنحكي اللي جوانا بوقت إنه للأسف ما في حرية تعبير بالطريقة الكافية، وبتخافي حتى ببلدك المحتل اللي للأسف إحنا جزأناه لكتير أجزاء، بتخافي تحكي كلمة تتحاسبي عليها للأسف. فشكرا إنه عم تعطونا هاي الفرصة. هلأ شكرا أخت عندليب، موضوع الغاز صح، لكن كمان في إشي خلى إسرائيل تهاجم غزة لأكثر من مرة. يعني هاي مش الحرب الأولى، هاي حرب إبادة صحيح، هاي حرب كبيرة، لكن كان قبلها حروب وحروب، ومنها حرب أنا حضرتها بغزة قبل ما أجي هون على رام الله. ليش؟ باعتقادي لأنه الشعب تقريبا الوحيد اللي قادر يوقف بوجه اليهود وأهل غزة، ما عندهم شيء يخسروه. من بداية موضوع الانقلاب وموضوع اللي هي السياسات اللي صارت جوانا، غزة رفضت إنها تخضع. كان بكل وقت في إلها صوت. غزة كان برجالها بإمكاناتهم البسيطة كانت عصية بالنسبة لليهود، فبالتالي مش متعودين إنه يسمعوا كلمة لا، مش متعودين إنه يكون في مقاومة. فاليوم الهدف مش 6 أكتوبر اللي صار أو 7 أكتوبر آسفة، الهدف هو كيف بدنا نقضي على ناس إلهم سنوات قاعدين بيحكوا، إلهم سنوات في إلهم صوت، مش لازم يكون إلنا صوت. اللي بفكر فيه هلا اللي استشهدوا راحوا الله يرحمهم، والبيوت راحت والشركات راحت والشوارع راحت والجامعات وذكرياتنا كلها راحت. اللي بفكر فيه هلا بعدين لما تخلص الحرب شو بده يصير بالناس؟ النساء اللي فقدت أولادها، الأطفال اللي فقدوا أهاليهم، الآباء اللي فقدوا عائلاتهم، شو بده يصير فيهم؟ الصدمة الحقيقية مش الحرب، الصدمة الحقيقية اللي راح تواجهنا اللي بعد الحرب. بس تهدى الأمور كيف بدها تستوعب أمي كيف بدها تستوعب إنه ما في إلها بيت، ما في، راح البيت. كيف بدها تستوعب بنت عمي إنه راحوا عائلتها وخلص هذا الموجود. الصدمة الحقيقية أو الجهاد الحقيقي هو بعد الحرب. شو لازم نعمل؟ كيف لازم نقاوم؟ دورنا إحنا اللي برا برأيي إنه نحاول نتمرد على هاي الحواجز اللي عم تنعطب أو تنعمل بيننا وبين غزة. لازم صوتنا يوصل إلهم، لازم يكون في شجاعة أكتر، مش ضد الاستيطان بس. في أشياء كتير عمالها بتحكمنا وبتربطنا، كيف لازم يكون لنا صوت، وكيف لازم نقدر ندافع ونقدر نخلي غزة تقوم من جديد بعد معاناة شهر وأكثر من الحرب. الآن أنا بحكي معكم وفاتحة على الجزيرة في عاجل في أخبار عن هدنة أو ما بعرف. أنا خايفة من الهدنة، والله خايفة من الهدنة، خايفة الناس تبلش تصحى على الكوارث اللي صارت، يبلشوا يتفقدوا، يبلشوا يشوفوا الجرائم. في نسوان كبار انحشروا ببيوتهم ما بيعرفوا إنه أولادهم ماتوا، بيعرفوا إنهم هم فقدوا الاتصال فيهم، ما بيعرفوا إنه العمارة الفلانية انقصفت. اللي جنبهم خايفين يحكوا لهم. أنا خايفة من الهدنة وخايفة اللي حيصير فيهم بعد الهدنة. يعني ما بعرف إيش، ما في كلام بينحكى هلا، بيلزم إنه إحنا هيك من جوا نبلش نفكر شو يعني حماس وشو يعني فتح، شو ما في إحنا دولة محتلة، ما في حماس، ما في فتح، ما في رام الله، ما في غزة. في ناس عم تنقتل وفي ناس عم تستشهد. كيف لازم نكون معهم وما نخاف إنه نطلع مظاهرة ننمسك، وما نخاف إنه نطلع مظاهرة ننذل. بدنا نكون بكرامتنا يا عمي، إحنا بس طالبين نكون بكرامتنا، نحكي بدنا نروح على غزة، بدنا ندعم أهلنا بغزة. مش لما أجي أبعث لهم دعم شو صلة القرابة. ما بدي أحكي لك أنا بنت مين بغزة، أنا بدي أحكي لك أنا فلسطيني بدي أدعم غزة، بدي أدخل على غزة، بدي أساهم بغزة. هون دورنا، أنا بتهيألي دورنا مش عند اليهود بس، مع اليهود ومع العرب ومع العالم كلها اللي خذلت فلسطين وغزة. شكرا.
Okay, I will quickly do a rough translation. So thank you, Reem, for sharing. Reem was saying that first she was thanking this platform for her to be able to speak, especially that there is not much freedom of speech like what we're seeing. She is then talking about the reason why Israel keeps attacking Gaza over and over again. She definitely agrees to the points mentioned about they want to control the gas and the resources of Gaza. They want to take it over. They want to ethnically cleanse the population. But she also mentions a very important point to her, and she says that it's also because Gaza has refused to submit to the Israeli occupation. It has always been stubborn against them. It has always stood up and voiced opposition to the Israeli occupation, and Israel does not want people to get used to it and to this, and doesn't want. The goal is to silence Gaza, silence its resistance, silence its voice of dissent, and this is why they keep attacking Gaza. And she's saying then that, as what Andalib mentioned, that what will happen after the war is terrifying. Many people have been martyred, all the memories are gone, houses destroyed, but people are still in shock. So when there is a ceasefire and when the military operations stop, people will begin to realize, people will begin to understand. She's saying that her mother will understand that her house is gone. How will she be able to accept this? Fathers and mothers will understand that their children have been martyred. How will they be able to live with this? They will realize the shock and they will start feeling it when there is a ceasefire and when the operations are stopped, which is why even a ceasefire is terrifying. It's always going to be scary. So that's why she's saying that we, as people outside of Gaza, need to raise our voice and need to raise their voice. We have to be courageous. We have to be unapologetic, and we do not have to be limited with our rhetoric. She's saying that. When fathers wake up and find now that their children have been martyred, when mothers find out that their children have been martyred, it doesn't really matter what each Palestinian belongs to. She said there's no Hamas, there's no Fatah, there's no Ramallah, there's no Gaza. We are all occupied Palestinians. And what we need to do is to be courageous and fight for our dignity and support unapologetically. So this is in general what Reem was saying.
So are we okay with our audience to just extend a bit just to hear concluding remarks from all our panelists and participants? I mean, we could do it because we already started late. And folks who need to leave, they can leave. And we will have it recorded and available anyway. Is that okay with everybody? So maybe we can go to Andalib next. Andalib?
أنا آسفة بس أنا مضطرة أروح لأني فعلا منتظرة مكالمة من أهلي من امبارح بستنى وبدي أحاول يعني أتصل فإن شاء الله بنكون
إن
باللقاءات
شاء الله
الجاية.
بسلامتهم جميعا وشكرا كتير كتير ريما. I said Rima says that she has a call with her family, and I said may they all be safe, and thank you so much for joining us, and we would really love it and appreciate it if you are able to take time to join us in the future. يعطيك ألف عافية ويعطيكم ألف عافية.
Thank you.
عندليب؟
أيوة معك.
أوكي. بدك تحكي عندليب ولا نروح لجيهان وحنين؟
بالإمكان تروحوا لجيهان أو حنين.
أوكي يلا جيهان تفضلي. أو دانا.
Okay, Dana.
Okay, thank you, Jan. Thank you, Rabab. Thank you, all of us, all of you. Actually, I want just to mention that the importance of Birzeit University Union of Professors and Employees statements is that they take the cause of its emancipation, of its, inception, from the start, to talk about it in a radical way, to talk about things and name things as it is. as it's a genocide against Palestinians wherever they are, against Palestinians in the exile, against Palestinians in Gaza, in 48 lands, in West Bank, wherever there are the Palestinians, there is a genocide and a project of erasure against them. So here is the importance of these statements, which expose also the complicity of other states, expose the imperial project, which can be embodied in Palestine. In Palestine, we can see all the manifestations of the imperial worldwide project, the complicity of US, the complicity of different European countries against the Palestinians and against the Palestinian people who are in resistance since 1 century. So here is the importance of the statements which appoint the importance of this case, of this cause, of this just cause. I wanted to shed light about a subject which is marginalized in the media now. Since the 7th of October, the Palestinian political prisoners in Israeli jails are suffering from a barbaric attack every day. This is very marginalized in the Western media. Now that the world is talking about the hostages, in quotations, about the Israeli prisoners in Gaza, but they don't talk not at all about the Palestinian political prisoners who were like 5,200 political prisoners before the 7th of October and after Al-Aqsa operation, Al-Aqsa flood operation. Now they are like 7,500 political prisoners. In 1 month, around 2,500 Palestinians were imprisoned from West Bank and from Jerusalem, from 48 lands, and we don't forget the Palestinians from Gaza who were arrested, the workers from Gaza, and also the Palestinians who were imprisoned in the 7th of October inside Israel. So all of these Palestinians are now facing a barbaric attack. All the concessions, all the rights that they were having before the operation of Al-Aqsa flood, now they lost everything. Everything is confiscated from the Israeli prisons. And now I'm talking about different testimonies from prisoners who were liberated after during these weeks, I mean, and testimonies from lawyers who visited not all the prisons, but some prisons, because some prisons, the lawyers are forbidden totally from the visits. And here I wanted to say that Israel from the 7th forbid the ICRC from visiting the Israeli prisons. So when the ICRC does not visit the prisons, there is no a powerful testimony about the situation of prisons, because the world talk about the ICRC statements as if it was the sole statement of the reality. They don't take in they don't take care about the testimonies from lawyers and from all the Palestinian NGOs who visited the prisoners in Israeli prisons, or the lawyers who did it like in their own, as a lawyer who are volunteering to visit the prisoners in this difficult time. When we say they confiscated everything, I'm talking about the shoes, I'm talking about the clothes, I'm talking about the canteen. The canteen is closed now. They can buy nothing from the canteen. I talk also about the meals that the prison administration offer for the prisoners, which is which is not sufficient for them. One testimony say that it's not even enough for a bird, the meal that is offered for the prisoner. I wanted to quote a phrase which was published in an article talking about the situation of prisons. Here the prisoners say, we only realized the magnitude of the surprises and victory when we saw the faces of jailers during the count. Their faces were filled with hatred and sadness. The signs of defeat were etched on their faces. So now the jailers are trying to humiliate the Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. They are trying to beat them all the time during the count, during the transfer of the prisoners from a prison to another, or to the audience, their audience, or to the lawyer visit. So they are trying to also make videos of this humiliation of the Palestinian prisoners. And all of that is for one reason. Israel wanted to to make all other Palestinians afraid.
Terrorize and intimidate.
Yeah, terrorize. Yeah,
and intimidate.
They want to intimidate and terrorize other Palestinians and the families of these prisoners. When we talk about 7,500 prisoners, we are talking about thousands of families who are now in are afraid all the time. They don't know the whereabouts of their prisoner of their beloved ones, because in 1 week, in 2 weeks, there were 4 martyrs in the prisons, and we don't know the surrounding conditions of their killing. It's called they were killed by the torture. Others because of lack of medicine and lack of health care. So we are talking about a situation, a miserable situation in prisons, which is marginalized because the ICRC don't do their work. They don't visit the prisons now. The family visits are forbidden, and the lawyer's visit are restricted. So when we go to the jail as a lawyer, they can simply tell us that there is an emergency case, we can't let you in, or you have to wait like 2 hours in order to enter the prison, and you have only five prisoners to visit, while all the families are waiting to just an information telling them your beloved one is alive. He's still alive, just to say he's still alive, because they saw all the videos of humiliation, of torture. And this is continuing until now. There is a testimony from the female prison also, saying horrifying things. They were threatened of being raped. This was told by a female prisoner to her lawyer. So I think that we have here we can do many things in this subject, in this question in particular, because exposing the crimes in Gaza is now very clear. No one can deny the crimes in Gaza, but in the Israeli prisons nowadays, crimes are happening all the time. The ICRC role should be exposed. The complicity of the ICRC, it's now clear more than ever. The ICRC is existing in Palestine since 67. And now they can't even go out publicly in a statement saying that they are forbidden by the Israeli administration from the visits. They can't do it. They are afraid of doing it. What to say more? Yeah, just one last thing. Even though the situation is terrible in prisons, I can tell you now, and I'm confident of the high humor of Palestinian political prisoners. They are now full of hope. Now they are seeing their liberation. Prisoners who have spent like 20 years, 30 years behind the jails, now they are seeing their liberation. They are seeing the life. They are programming now what they will do after the Liberation Day. So this is the most important message, I think, that even we are facing a criminal, barbaric project, Zionist project, a settler colonial project, all what you wanted to classify this terrorist state, but here there is a people who are resisting every single moment. They are resisting for survival and for liberation and for their self-determination. And thank you for all this effort that you are doing to make Palestinians speak out and to clarify and to do maybe one step for the الحقيقة for راحت من بالي الكلمة.
Truth.
Yeah, for the truth about what's happening now. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe Jihan and Haneen go next.
Okay. And I am muted. Well, I'm muted.
We can hear you. Now you're muted. Unmute, Jihan. Unmute, Habibti.
Okay. I think certain topics need a special session to be really Palestine is a feminist issue, and I feel very, very proud in our diversity of our role. But we need to talk about it separately. Another thing, the future, and I think somebody said it and he brought it to my attention. We talk about من البحر من النهر للبحر ودemocratic state والى آخره. I think we should really elaborate on that. Democratic state after dismantling Zionism, the military state. يعني يمكن لازم أكثر discourse about this to become more elaborate and sophisticated for the future. But what I feel a little bit scared. I don't want us. We don't know what will happen. The thing is how this will end. Tells us a lot. Maybe, of course, we'll never lose hope. We are the steadfastness of our people and the sacrifices of our people because they are confident of victory and of the justice of our cause. But I'm a little bit worried. If Israel gets the upper hand in the West Bank and Palestine occupied 48 in Gaza, will we demoralize? Will we enter a phase? Yani I remember after 82, we were very demoralized after the withdrawal from. So I think we should think about it and maybe meet again just to brainstorm how can we face because I have been maybe 40, 60 years not in the struggle, and I saw everything and or was part of everything, but I never saw such brutality, such targeted killing, such wanting to really break our dignity, and they won't. But it was very, very painful to see people retreating or carrying the flag, or it is, and it will be more painful if we hear more suffering. But I think we have challenges, and we should think how to face the challenges and the results, no matter how difficult they were. I still hope for better results. Yeah, I'm not completely pessimistic, but I think this is the challenge and the meeting, or we need to come together and think together to keep the morale, to keep the unity of the people. And the unity, by the way, also is the main disaster. It's our second Nakba. No unity will take place. And why, as our friend said, why Hamas, why Gaza was different? Of course, because they exposed هذا شو اسمه the agreements and the the coordination with the مع الأسف التنسيق الأمني, which was awful. But on the other hand, there were very bad slogans always talking about unity, as if unity is a purpose by itself and not the political program. So we should always focus on unity, on a strategic program that really brings people together, and people are against occupation and they are with the struggle and with liberation. No unity just because we like the slogan unity. But we have to really be ready to the immediate results and see what can be done.
Thank you,
Okay.
Jehan. Haneen? You're muted, Haneen. Unmute, please. Unmute.
Okay, sorry. After hearing Grim and hearing those who directly experience actually the most brutal phase which the Palestinian people experience after 48. It is the most brutal. And it is, yes, similar very much to Nakba. We feel ourselves small and paralyzed and fragile. And yes, we must say it, that Gaza is paying the price of the collapse of the national Palestinian movement after Oslo. Yes, Gaza is paying the price of the Palestinian Authority security coordination, of turning the Palestinian Authority into an agent of occupation. Yes, Gaza is paying the price, our price. Those 2 million Palestinians who suffer from 16 years of siege is struggling instead of all of us, and is paying the price of all the fatal political mistakes that some of the Palestinians, some of us has made. And before talking about the reconstruction of Gaza, which is very, very early to talk about it, we don't know how the war how this atrocities and hostility will end. We don't know. Reality after this period will not be similar. We should shift and rethink and redefine our concepts, our political concept totally. But before talking about reconstruction of Gaza, we should talk about reconstruction of our liberation movement. We cannot now reconstruct Gaza before reconstructing our unity and our political vision as a vision of liberation. And Gaza is paying the price of the Israeli arrogance, because till now, and they are stupid, and the Israelis will continue to be more stupid. And if they think that with this brutality, they really will control the Palestinians, they are wrong. And they are doing this, they are exercising this brutal violence because of political bankruptcy. شو إفلاس؟
Bankrupt, مظبوط.
Bankruptcy, right? Because of political bankruptcy, they don't know what to do with the Palestinians. They were in shock in the 7th of October. They didn't believe that the Palestinians can challenge, can challenge, and they are so self-confident about their control, and that the Palestinian is so involved in a daily struggle, and they put 2 million into a daily suffering, and we will suffer from the stupidity of the Israelis also. We will. Okay, now I have two لأنه كتير الحديث تشعب بطلت عارفة وكيف نحكي وشو شو عم نحكي. بس I will give two remarks about Israel from inside. Unlike the European diplomatic discourse, Israel doesn't really talk about self-defense. They are more frank and more honest with their media. They talks about we will show them the meaning of hell. The door of hell will open. If there is hell on earth, its name is North Gaza. They will see what they cannot imagine. So the Israeli discourse, public discourse, the media discourse, the government discourse, the Knesset discourse, as I said, is more honest. They stress the element of revenge and the element of hatred. And they know, and this is their definition of self-defense, is eradication and elimination of Gaza. And this is how they say it. Also the clothes that they wear, civilians, they wear clothes, one shot, by one shot, I will kill two. And they draw a very pregnant Palestinian woman. And now the Israeli discourse is a discourse about a zero-sum game. يعني the existence of the Israelis means the extension, the physical extension of the Palestinians. So these elements of destruction, which I saw a lot of translation, and we should translate, and we should it should be widespread all over the world. The ethos of destruction will cultivate the coming Israeli society. We will witness, I think, not totally a different kind of society, but we will witness more direct, brutal Israeli society. And it is somewhat the end of the normality, the end of the attempts of Israel to market itself as a normal society. And this is a problem. This will be a problem for the Israelis. It cannot, Israel even give up this image of a democratic state, of a normal state. And after the war, if we can imagine, it is a very difficult task to imagine what will happen after this. It is not a war. It is not a war after this brutal atrocities. The Israeli society will face a lot of problems, but this is a second story. Now, regarding the 48, at the end, I must say something about the 48. Till now, the Israeli police have dealt with more than 500 posts on social media since the start of this brutality. Israel police has arrested more. So a few days ago, the number was 171 people, and has 76 indictments submitted to the police. More than 27,000 weapons were distributed to the Israelis. Now, any Israeli who doesn't carry a weapon turns himself into a policeman in his own way. He interrogates the Palestinian at work. Even the silence of the Palestinians in students, doctors, the silence of the Palestinian workers is suspicious. We must speak out, not as an indication of freedom of speech, but they want to know exactly how we think, what are our opinions in order to punish us, in order to revenge from the reaction that we will express. So they want to know, and they are so suspicious. They want to know, and they interrogate even doctors in the hospitals, even lawyers in law firms are, of course, they are afraid, it's natural, but hesitate because they will be punished. Colleagues at work expel Arabs from WhatsApp groups without any notification, any justification, anything. They're just Arab students, Arab workers, Arab group of teachers, they kick the Arabs out of the WhatsApp. They sometimes, a lot of cases I heard that they ask the workers to help them prepare packages for the army or to donate. My nephew got a telephone. She's working in a very famous place. We want to donate to the army. Do you want to donate? She kept silent before this question because she didn't want to express herself. But it is an examination. They makes you a test. They want to examine you. So this game of sovereignty of control is a result of shaked self-confidence. Something deep down in the Israeli society is fragile, and they lost. It's a society which lost not just its humanity. And Israel was not famous in humanity, the Israeli society, regarding the Palestinians, but they lost their self-confidence because of this, their level of brutality. There is a positive relationship between their brutality and their self-confidence, and we must pay attention to this, to these weaknesses. And I will finish by saying that we in 48 must reconsider this concept of citizenship, because it will take now different content, different political premises and content and condition and analysis. And as I said, the reconstruction which we need is to rebuild our liberation movement and our liberation mission. It's more important than the houses, or it's a precondition of of a healing process also. And I agree with Reem. I agree with Reem, and this will be my last sentence, that the coming period is more difficult and more challenging than what we are witnessing now. But the whole world is with us, not the whole world with us, but now the Palestinian cause becomes an international cause. We must also know how to use the level and intensity of support, and the Palestinian issue is turning, I think, it's more now even an internal issue within the European, within the Western societies and regime. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Haneen. I mean, I want to hear you for hours and hours, all of you. But we need to end. So I was actually going to ask Andalib if you want to say something, and also suggest some of the ideas that everybody has brought up as topics for the following conversations for part of the series, so we can expand on them. The whole, what you raised, Haneen, what you raised, Dana, about also the question of the prisoners, the question of what's happening to the civilian, the population, what's going on, and how do we even address that and the question of Palestinian women's roles and so on. So I'm just going to ask Andalib, do you want to say something now, or do you want to leave till next time? It's up to you. So just let us know so we can decide what we need.
أيوة دكتورة رباب، يعني بدي أشكر جميع المشاركات وأشكرك على تنظيم هذه الندوة أو اللقاء أو إيش ما كان اسمها. وبفكر إنه بلزمنا يعني كتير من اللقاءات القريبة من زمنيا من بعض، على أساس إنه إحنا تحت ضغط الوقت فعليا، بعيدا عن تقديم النفس والسيرة الذاتية وكل هاي الأشياء. نقاش فعلي حول يعني ماذا يمكن أن نصنع أو أن نفعل من خطوات للإغاثة للنجدة. وما بعني أبدا جمع التبرعات على الإطلاق، لأنه يعني يمكن أظن ريما حكت الناس معها مصاري، وأنا بعرف هيك، وإحنا كنا في غزة ما بنلاقي الأشياء. يعني الناس حاملة فلوس، مش حاملة، ولكن ما فيش إشي تشتريه. ما يعني ما فيش مية تشتريها، مية حلوة مثلا تشتريها للشرب، خاصة للأطفال وللمرضى. فبعني إنه يعني نفكر في مبادرات، في خطوات، نتناقش، نتفاكر حول هاي المبادرات اللي ممكن تنعمل على أرض الواقع.
Liam, do you want to translate?
Yes, very quickly. So, Andalib is saying thank you everyone for this very important, panel and very important discussion. She's suggesting that we need to do more of this and do it after one another, not take too much time between the panels and between the discussions. And she's also saying that next time we can get into the discussion right ahead and directly without the long introductions and bios, and start talking more about action steps and action steps needed for helping our brothers and sisters in Gaza. She's saying donations cannot be collected. Collecting donations will not help because many people have money, but there is nothing to buy. There's no water to buy. There's no medication to buy. And so next time we should discuss more action-oriented items.
Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over back to Mary Jo. Mary Jo has had to go to a funeral, but to Brooke. But just to say that the reason we had to do the introductions at the beginning is because not everybody in our classes and our communities and audiences actually know. So we thought this would be really a good way to introduce everybody, even though we have the bios. But definitely, we're thinking about maybe every other week we will do something and focus on it. Please send us any suggestions, any recommendations. Fill out the form of the participants and say what topics, suggest speakers, and so on. Because we really, really need to continue. This is one of the ways that we can do, as some of us who are academics, organizers, activists, public intellectuals, to get our voice out, to basically break the isolation of Gaza, the isolation of Palestine, the isolation of the news that nobody hears about, and it's intentional. It's deliberate and not accidental. So we want to do that, and we want to hear from all of you. And please send us as much feedback as possible and amplify the voices of these amazing, amazing, amazing strugglers. In Arabic, we say munadilat. So I'm going to use that in English. The strugglers on the ground who are struggling day in and day out in their various locations, and many, many more, in raising the questions of justice for Palestine as part of justice for all, refusing and rejecting repression, and refusing to be silenced, and refusing to normalize these injustices. And together we lick our wounds, we mourn, we grieve for all our dead and everybody we lost, and we get up and we continue. So thank you everybody for participating, and thank you for my comrades, sisters, colleagues, siblings from the Palestinian Feminists for Justice in Palestine, for Teaching Palestine, for all the organizing groups, for the Palestinian Feminist Collective, Arab and Muslim, Ethnicity and Diaspora Studies, for radio and TV Tala'a in Gaza, Under the Siege is actually joining us, for everybody who has come across, and for Mary Jo's department. And we're really hoping more and more and more departments can do this and bring this into the classroom, so our students can actually hear and learn about what's going on. So, Brooke, I don't know if you're still around. Turning it back to you to close.
Also, Brooke had to leave, Doctora, but perhaps we could wrap up with the beautiful words you just shared with us.
Okay. Thank you so much. And maybe just see the faces, you, Tomomi, I think everybody who's still around. Thank you again, Mariam and Laith and Lean and Salim and everybody who is behind the scenes. Okay, I see now Mariam's face back, who has made this possible. It would not have been possible without all this joint collaboration and just joint work and this determined spirit, away from egos, away from selfishness and individuality, and in a collective spirit and manner. Thank you so much. And I would dare say that victory is ours, no matter how long.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctora.
Thank you all of us.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
يعطيكم العافية.
Good night.
Thank you for arranging this, and hope for better days, better news, and yeah.
Love you all. Good night.